Hello everyone, welcome back to another BSDF1 Talking Points. Talking Points, that's what we can call this show. I quite like that, Talking Points. Anyway, welcome to Talking Points, our show where we're going to sit here and talk about stuff that's happening in Formula 1. So this video is going to be about the FIA and what's kind of been happening with them recently, starting from the end of the 2021 season, as we all know what happened there. Going from 2022, we're not talking about 2021, but I had to bring it up because it's the staple.
Oh,
2022
can we just
FIA
pause for
compared
one
to
moment?
2023.
We've got a Mercedes hat. Leo needs to get the Max Verstappen hat, so we've got both people involved.
Oh yeah, true.
Caps on. No
True,
caps.
exactly. And then we put on my Toto Wolff Sirius glasses.
No, Mikey.
There we go. No,
No,
That
Mikey.
moved more like that, wasn't it? That's what that race was like, upside down.
Yeah.
Like Australia. Anyway.
Oh, please stop those jokes.
Yeah, boys. So, the FIA of the Australian Grand Prix just finished. We had 3 red flags, which are the most ever flown in a Formula 1 race. Were they necessary? What do you reckon, boys? Do you think they were necessary? One of them definitely was.
I'll go first on that one. I think that they were necessary, and I think they were good evil from what we saw. We've had a lot of issues in the past with incidents not being red flagged, and it probably should have been. Like a good example that's not Abu Dhabi, which is Monza from 2022. If that was red flagged and you got last 3 more laps of racing, that's so much better for people that are there. That's much better for people that are watching on TV as well.
Spectacle.
It's
Safer.
Yeah, exactly. All of those kind of things. Because at that one as well, they did have a tractor on track. You look at Japan last year as well, when it was wet, that red flag was so late.
Oh, yeah,
Whereas this time round, it was really early, and I think they made the right call. But you will never win with Formula 1 fans by the looks of it, because even some fans are complaining that they red flagged it. But I can imagine if you were there watching it live, you would not complain one bit for a red flag. That's my take.
No. And the thing with a red flag is it's there for safety. Everyone's got to remember that. A red flag is flown for a safety reason. We don't want, if there's a slight suspicion of possible danger of health and safety of drivers, anyone who's on the track, staff, volunteers, viewers, that's you guys. We want that to be safe. We do not want red flags because it's fun. We want red flags because it's safe. A caveat of red flags is you get to restart what could have possibly been a very boring race. Do you think that race should have restarted on the order that it was with the FIA, with the calls that they made? There was a very 50-50 decision on that.
This could be a spicy one. I'll let Leo take this one.
Safe.
Yeah.
If we're talking about the one a couple laps before the end, it made sense why it restarted. Should have restarted as a rolling start, because it was inevitable what was going to happen. You knew as soon as they started out with 2 laps left, there was going to be shit that happened. And I mean, that's putting it lightly. And then the FIA doing typical FIA things says, you know what, that lap doesn't exist. However, Sainz, you're going to get a penalty for a lap that doesn't exist. And Logan Sargent, you're not, because we forgot to check that clip.
That's literally what it sounds like.
And then they made Has wait 3 hours for decision of a protest. We then waited about 3 working weeks for the decision on the order of the grid. It was a mess. Like, you'd think they had that all sorted, and then they were like, right, we need to decide whether he finished the first sector, when Verstappen clearly didn't. Like, it was clear he didn't. But the thing about the red flag, like Josh said, they're so late, like everywhere. Belgium 2018.
Yeah, big one.
The big crash with Alonso and Leclerc, right? Yeah, it brung, what was it? The Sebastian Vettel commentary. I didn't listen.
Oh my goodness! Here we go again.
4 drive to survive, lads. but what was it? Oh yeah, but it was like way too late because that happened, and they were looking at it and saw Vettel and Hamilton was going to have a race, so they thought, right, we'll do that. Then we'll put out the safety car. It wasn't a red flag, but it was a late decision. Yeah, they're very inconsistent with what they do, and they're very late with their decisions. Like, wasn't Japan, like you said, Japan last year? Wasn't Gasly who got penalised? Or someone got penalised for driving too close or too fast behind a tractor
that you
couldn't see
too fast
for a part.
you couldn't see on the track either.
That you couldn't see.
That's what I don't understand. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, well, last year, 2022,
they're French,
the FIA had so many problems at the end of last year. Like, you couldn't even name them on one hand. How many problems they got? You need about 8 hands. You need to go to Chernobyl to count that.
Do you guys? Yeah. Do you guys remember the? Oh, nice. That was so obscure. That took like so long to get into my head. That little reference there. That's great. But do you guys think that? Sorry. Do you remember the Austrian Grand Prix with the penalties given? It looked like a F1 lobby with the amount of black and white flags that were being blown because of the track limit violations, which were like, oh, you might have gained 0.000001 of a second and then lost it immediately, but we're going to give you a 5-second penalty for it. The amount of nonsense that was there was ridiculous. Track limits.
Yeah. Imagine if they did that.
Can I ask you a question though about the penalties that got issued to Carlos Sainz and not Logan Sargent? So for a lap that was deleted, right? Because Carlos Sainz got a 5-second penalty, does that mean he gets points on his racing license? So with that,
even though it didn't exist,
that's my point. So a lap that got deleted by the FIA was awarded Carlos Sainz a loss in 7 or 8 positions and points on his license, which means he could lose out on racing if he continues to get more points, which is his own fault if he has that. But Logan Sargent, who clearly caused another issue, won't get points on his license for that, which is more unfair than it already is.
Good point as well. Gasly and Ocon, right? That was 100% Gasly's fault, and if you've got an opinion, you're
100%
wrong.
Gasly.
The 100% Gasly's fault, but they didn't give him a penalty because they didn't think it was right to give him a penalty. They didn't give him a penalty; they didn't want to ban him.
Saw this today on the Twitter, funny enough. Sebastian Vettel, 2018, Canada. Right. Was it the illegal car? Was that the illegal car? No. I literally always forget.
Illegal car,
Oh, yeah, because he was close to Hamilton was the illegal car.
Don't challenge me. Don't challenge me.
I was there in 2019 in Canada.
You wait till he starts bringing out the 94 jokes as well. I was there. I was in my dad's ball bag.
Yeah. I was there before I was born.
Bro, you lot are about 20 years older than me. What do you mean?
Okay, and he was still there before us.
Yeah.
But, yeah, if you remember the penalty that Vettel got, 5-second penalty, because he, very, very gently squeezed Hamilton off and Hamilton had to lift, and then Cromwell turned over the radio and got a 5-second penalty for him. Well, Gasly, there he goes. There he goes. I got you, Seb fans. Cromwell is there. But yeah, when Gasly literally just drifted over, didn't bother to do his due diligence to look in his, right mirror, which you're supposed to do basically as much as you can, especially on a restart like that. You need to be aware. And he just closed him. Bang, no penalty, because they're best mates, according to Alpine, and get on well in the most awkward-looking video I've ever seen in my life.
That was terrible.
We'll have referenced that. Go to the Alpine Twitter and have a look at their message thing to the fans. Just stop doing that, F1 teams. Message to the fans. Shut up.
It's cringe.
Just get on with your nonsense. But it's so cringe. McLaren's one every other week. McLaren message to our fans. We got lucky this week. But shut up. But
can I anyway, talk about
the
FIA having a mayor at the start of the season as well at Saudi Arabia, like Fernando Alonso, bringing that back up, because it's kind of obviously now a race is gone, we've kind of all forgotten about it, and it's a bit like
what was
that was
the end,
so pathetic. Why all of a sudden is there a rule that says you're not allowed to touch the car? That's black and white. not touching the car. But the jacks, labelled jacks, are allowed to be touched, which then Aston Martin can go, well, because you don't say what is a front and what is a rear jack just means you can touch the car. So, and that's happened 7 times in however many like incidents they showed and got away with it. I mean, it should be black and white. Why are you not making that black and white to begin with? But then why are you causing such an issue? Why can't you do this 30 laps within the race? Why?
Well, look at the amount of times they've had to just reinterpret rules. Like, something will happen, and then they go, right, okay, but we're going to close this loophole. We're going to do this, do that. Abu Dhabi 2021, right? When Verstappen, something totally different. Something.
Okay, it's fine.
Something totally different. Yeah,
I got a bit worried. Then he had the orange hat on, the Andy Moore hat.
Was like when Verstappen was coming up next to Hamilton on the safety car, and then the year after, they'd be like, actually, you can't do that. Like, the amount of times something has to happen, and they'd be like, yeah, do you know what? It doesn't make sense.
He's
anyway,
back. Yes, boys.
Yes, boys.
Yeah, no, that's a good point actually. That a lot of rules that the FIA have had to loophole have come from these very obscure little things that drivers have manipulated through, and I think a lot of that comes down to lazy like writing, where they'll put it down and it is like you need to definitively say yes and no. If you do anything like touching a car, if anything touches that car, penalty. Not you can touch it, but if you do a handstand and pull your trousers down at the same time, you might be able to actually touch it with a pair of scissors. And it's
this is when that rule gets ridiculous, though, because how many times has Sebastian Vettel touched the car intentionally and not get fined?
Yeah, didn't someone do a video of drumming up a video that he owes like $500,000?
Yeah, exactly. And then like I don't know, I'm going to back up Red Bull for a moment. Like they or whoever it was, when they touch someone's car, nothing happens, and then all of a sudden Mercedes go, they touched that car. Looking back at rules, this is Mercedes. Clearly, they will go back through the rules because that's what they are. They will go through it at the fine print, and then But again, you can't have one rule and then change it. Rules are what makes the sport fair and what you should be governed by. But you can't just go, oh, well, look, that rule can be interpreted completely different. And it's a little bit like the fucking rules for financial regulations. That's kind of been forgotten about as well.
Yep.
Like they're meant to be black and white. This is what you're not allowed to spend. And if you spend over it, there's things that will challenge that or give you fines and penalties and all this kind of stuff. When it actually comes to it, the penalty is sort of like, fuck it, we'll do it again next year because you can get away with it. And that's kind of how the FIA treats everything.
The loophole with Adrian Newey's private company that will work as a contractor for Red Bull, so it goes out of it. I'm like,
bollocks,
come on, man.
Complete shit.
That's
how can you let that happen?
Face?
Yeah, that's so dodgy.
That's the most in-your-face thing ever. Yeah, it's like, hello, we're doing tax fraud, by the way, and then just putting the microphone down and sitting there. It's like, it's so obvious. It's in front of you, and they're like, yeah, well, we'll just kind of let it happen, I guess. That's going to happen to everybody. We'll be like, okay, we can just hire this material as our company, and actually it's a material that runs it. Don't you dare assume that they're not a person. That's carbon fibre, and that is a he and a him. Something like that is just, that's going on some actual nonsense. But, so I mean, you can interpret anything as ridiculously as you want to do it.
They've already got these like ridiculous rules within the financial regulations. Like they've got the ones that you can have 3 top earners. Why have we got that? Just say, look, salary cap for drivers is 100 million. And then, like, if Lewis costs 80, then George gets 20. And if you want to leave it that high, that's up to you. But that's how much the driver's cap is. Done. Black and white. Team principle, they come out of the team. And if they, like, for example, Toto runs the team. He doesn't need a massive salary. He can just take the standard one and take dividends out when they're profiting. Easy. But, like, for example, Adrian Newey in Mercedes, which is Mike Elliott, and then James Allison. Like, James Allison, all of a sudden, might open a company called Allison's Aerodynamics because they've heard Red Bull and Adrian Newey run a third-party company, which then contracts all of its work out So all of a sudden, you don't have to pay him a salary. So what's the point? But these things should be like, why isn't the FIA going? So Red Bull have spent a 4 million quid on cakes, but they haven't spent anything on aerodynamics. But they've got a company doing Lego.
Me and Leo covered this one.
What?
They shopped at Waitrose. That's why they overspent. Didn't we know? We covered that one.
Sense.
Red Bull catering is a Waitrose shopping.
Yeah, the M&S sandwiches give us 50 breaks.
In all fairness,
Especially when on their meal deals.
them Red Bull drinks are a fucking joke in the UK at the moment. Like they cost so much money.
Yeah,
Stupid. Just get the
that's
standard
because
Blue
Verstappen
Thunder.
double world champion. You know. Yeah. But
the counterfeit
as we
ones.
did in our last talking points video, is what do you reckon you could do to fix it? I think personally, the FIA's organisation once again needs to be completely gutted from the inside out, and then needs to be restructured. Needs to be fresh blood shot into the FIA, and modern ruling,
or get a racing director who knows what they're doing. We haven't had that since Charlie Whiting. Do you know what I mean? Because we've had two last year, didn't we? Two different ones, which just kept messing up. This
Same
I
guys,
don't know who it is this year, but
they're
struggling. Yeah, they're struggling.
Yeah, you need someone with experience in Formula One. These other guys are racing drivers. Well, do you know what was really funny? The exact same thing with Mohammed Ben Salem with the FIA president, and then he had to step down from it, or stepping down from limelight. I can't remember what he did. Step away. But
it was
a racing driver.
It was his
like
relationship with Red Bull that probably got him sacked.
Yeah, and then he was drunk and basically accused him of cheating, and that we're not going to do cheating this year when at that award ceremony. Oh, legendary! But yeah, so he was Dakar world champion or something like that. So he's a racer, but that's not Formula One, lad. Like the rules. The money is ridiculous and the rules are insane. And these teams, the quote of Martin Brundle that he loves to do, you give them an inch, they'll take a mile, you know? And with Formula One teams, you cannot give them an inch. You can't give them a fucking millimetre. You've got to make sure that is a yes or a no. And I think that's where Charlie Whiting used to have this approach of, nope. There's that. Yeah.
But he was respected because of it. Like he was
still
respected.
talks about now, isn't he?
But then, look at how Massey was spoken to when you had that 1 year in 2021 where we had the radio, as you can see, and the way he was spoken to
wouldn't have happened with Whiting.
You know,
he would have been straight back at him like, "Don't you dare! You talk to me like that, I'll give you another fucking penalty, lad. Like, don't you dare talk to me." That bit with him in the, I can't remember the race. You'll remember it. Maybe it was like 20. No, that's too early. Lewis was in Mercedes, I'm certain. Maybe it's 2014 or 15. When they're in I can't remember what it is. They did that recording of,
when they did the
yes,
not the conference,
the driver debrief,
debriefs,
and they're all asked 17. Because I was like, I know
2017.
Bottas was there because he was in a part of it, and Massa was there, and it was about Massa and Hamilton doing something or other. But that's a topic to get into on the next talking point. By the way, if you've seen the news evolving, holy shit. Anyway, but yeah, so that when he's there, no one's coming up with this nonsense. No one's putting bullshit. It's just like, that's the rule. This is what it is. That's what you're doing. Yeah, but what about this? No. That's the rule. This is what you're doing. Not, yeah, but what about this? Well, it depends on the mood I'm in. If I've had a coffee, I'm a little bit rowdy in the morning. Like that. No, mate, can't do that. You can't do that. So you can't hard and fast and black and white. That is the ruling that needs to be there. That was a tangent and a half, but
I think
what do you lads think?
I think a good way to fix it would be someone from the Formula One company needs to be more involved with the FIA. I think the FIA tried to be too silo themselves and try and govern the way that Formula One wants to be governed, but Formula One has also almost got too big to sort of be told what to do. And I think,
too big.
Yeah, and I think there needs to be like you said, a Charlie Whiting on the FIA who's really strict but fair, that can deal with race situations, penalties, red flags. You know, be that person that says, I made a mistake calling a red flag, but I did it for safety. Done. But then there also needs to be that guy from the Formula One that says, look, this is not working the way that you are doing it, because you're impacting on fans, you're impacting the way it's perceived on television, and it's looking terrible in the stands. Like, some of these ticket prices are ridiculous at the moment. And if you go to, I don't know,
They're nuts.
Belgium 2 years ago when it rained, I don't know how much them ticket prices cost, but to not even put the races out when it was raining is ridiculous. To do what they did was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, at least try it properly, not do a couple of laps under the safety car. If you are going to red flag it, allow it to be the complete time and then give it a go, like they did in Japan. I fully respect what they did. But this is a couple of years ago now we're talking about, but it still goes on now. Like you said in the pod a couple of days ago, Josh, that when was the last time we saw a proper wet race?
Yeah.
Like all the way through.
Yeah. On
years
wets.
and years and years
full,
and years ago.
full wet tyres. Yeah.
So
we don't see it anymore.
Yeah, we don't see
you
it
just
anymore.
don't.
But that's because the FIA are probably overly worried about safety, which is a fair thing. But these cars and these races are built to be driven all year round in most climates. Like, in full rain is something that they're prepared for because a tyre exists for it. So let them race for it.
Yep. Yeah, there is a extreme wet tyre. Make them even more grooved if you want.
Turkey.
Exactly that.
No way.
It just wouldn't. They'd be like, oh, it's too slippery. And sometimes the drivers are a little bit at fault with that. At prime example, and I kind of use this when Sebastian Vettel was calling for a red flag at the 2021 Belgium. He was calling for it, then Lando crashed. If you're a Formula One driver and you choose to go up one of the most treacherous hills in full wet conditions in qualifying pace, desperate to get as much, would Lewis or Max or Seb or Checo or Ricardo would have crashed like that? You've got a young driver who's got a very quick car underneath him, which was evident by Monza and evident by Sochi. He's going to try and absolutely rapid that car up that hill because he knows that other drivers might lift. That's what he's going to get all the time. I think the FIA letting that qualifying continue was a good thing. The red flag, of course, came out because of the crash, but I do think these drivers should be let to race safely and just like, look, use some common fucking sense. Don't try and go flat up fucking Radley on mate.
I got one as well that remember
it's soaking wet.
Common sense. Last year? Yeah, last year Imola. Like, not one piece of common sense was made on that day. Like, how many laps did we do under without DRS? 30,
I think it was
40 laps.
Yeah, in the 40s.
Like 40
DRS wasn't turned on,
30s,
and you're thinking this is a track that needs DRS because it is so dull without any passing.
And you know what they were terrified of?
Crashing,
Once again, they were terrified of 2021 with George and Bottas because that was a scary crash because George overtook on a semi-wet track with DRS. But what they're forgetting is George got his tyres on the grass because he overshot his passing,
but
and
at
that's
the same
what caused him to have the gut. Not the DRS didn't
You
cause
can
that.
have a serious accident in the dry. Look at a place that never rains in Bahrain for Grosjean. He survived a serious accident. Like, really, car splitting off, on fire. Quite amazing that he got out, to be honest.
By all accounts, if it wasn't for the safety of Formula One cars, he would have been dead.
I think an accident
Any other category
in the rain is probably safer than hitting the wall like he did, to be honest. And it just shows you that these cars are
if
built
he can
to
get
do
out
it.
of that.
Yeah. So it's not... I don't think...
as
I think
long as
they're just
that
being
wall-
too melty, to be honest.
Yeah. As long as the wall absorbs you, it'll be fine. The one thing we do not want is cars bouncing back on track, as we've seen before.
Another one. We don't want diggers on track either. Like last year in
No.
Japan.
No diggers
no
and no
excuse for
cars
that.
bouncing back. Walls to absorb.
There's no excuse for that.
Tyre barriers that bring you in. That's what the Armaco barriers do amazingly. They soak the car into the wall where tyres bounce you off. And then obviously if they're close to the track. But, I think that's one thing the FIA desperately needs to do. Restructure, get ahead of it that is confident, that has got boatloads of experience with management of giant organisations. And the FIA needs to have the FIA, and they need to have the FFIA or the F1 FIA. So it's a completely separate entity because WEC doesn't have these problems. Other FIA-sponsored GT categories don't have these problems. International karting doesn't have these problems. And karting's head up by Felipe Massa, again, buzzword for today. And he's always been how you've seen things when that guy, I can't remember what it was, the Italian guy, lost his car and he launched his like bumper of his go-kart at a guy and he was just like, yeah, you're banned, get out, you're done. You know, like there's things like that, some harshness, you know, some reality to stuff. You can say, let's use a wild example of other drivers running drivers off the track. It might not be a rule, but have the FIA come on and say, if your driver pushes somebody off the track again like that, we're just going to give him a 5-second penalty. Yeah, but that's not fair because in your rules, you're not, I don't really care. Stop him from being an arsehole. That's what that approach needs to be, a Formula One head, not someone who's done World Rally Championship and then tries to judge Formula One. It is a different.
Well, I think everybody's dream candidate, and we could all probably agree with this one, would be Vettel.
Sebastian Vettel.
Yeah. But I don't think he will want
Maldonado.
Such an idiot. But yeah, I can't see it happening in the near future. I mean, I think he would, but I don't think he will anytime soon. I think 5-10 years, at the very least.
He wants family time. Yeah. He wants family time. He wants time away. He's racing some other categories, enjoy himself. Like Raikkonen, just going, I'm going to go NASCAR. Why not? And both Raikkonen and Button NASCAR debuts, and they were gash.
If you want someone to man the FIA, you can choose Seb. But if you want someone to help Seb from the Formula One side, you get Kimi. And you have them in the debriefs and say, can we do this? Yes. Seb is from Horner, and he goes, no. What about this, Kimi?
Yeah, literally, oh my God.
No.
Kimi would be the best race director. Oh, it'd be amazing. Could you? Yeah, that is a...
Yeah, Carlos Sainz like, no, asking questions. Please ask him to take the penalty. Kimi's like, no.
Yeah, it's like,
no.
I made my choice. Shut up now. And then
I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Hey, steering wheel.
Love the steering wheel.
Yeah.
Another problem with the FIA as well. Another problem with the FIA is Drive to Survive as well. Yeah. I'll stick by that. They're trying to make it too entertaining. Not too entertaining, but like, just you don't need to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Just let it be
racing. Finishing a race under a safety car is a normal thing, but it's boring.
It's boring. It's boring, but it's happened for years. Like a certain race in 2021 was because of Drive to Survive.
Oh, that's a statement there.
You have this.
No, you're not wrong because you got the Verstappen hat on. So actually, you are correct in all circumstances.
You don't just. Was it? Oh no! My go. Fair. It was Abu Dhabi was completely fair
and just.
But no, yeah, like that race was for purely entertainment purposes. When you had a year which was entertaining,
amazing year, best year of Formula One ever.
So I definitely think the Drive to Survive factor plays into, they want as much entertainment as possible. Look at Australia. Right, we're going to red flag it and do the last 2 laps as one final standing start, which was always going to end up
rolling
the way
start,
it ended up.
Perfect, easy. So, yeah. There hasn't been a rolling start in I don't know how long. Not a safety car restart, a rolling start.
But it's at
every
the same
other category
time, though,
again. WEC does it. Loads of other categories do it.
The last time it was done
even IndyCar does it
is Baku
to avoid crashes.
And Baku is a prime example of it working really, really well. The last couple of lap shootout.
The only reason why I think it worked really well, Baku, Lewis wasn't in the race because he fucked it, and Max wasn't in the race. So it was the 2 fastest cars that I think would have caused problems wheel to wheeling with each other weren't in the race.
Yeah, but
again, where I stand, Lewis lost that championship in Baku, not in Abu Dhabi.
But again,
I still stand by that point all day long.
The point that they weren't there is irrelevant because the fact is the spectacle of watching the last 3-4 laps play out was still more entertaining than what we had at Monza. And take Drive to Survive out.
Yeah.
I, as a fan, would much rather see the last 3 or 4 laps red flagged. It depends on the severity of the problem. Like, for example. No, but for example, in Monza, that
100%.
should have been red flag because there's one reason, which is the tractor on circuit. If it was gravel,
tractor on a tight bit of the circuit as well.
If it was gravel, like Australia's first red flag, I'd probably said, "No, that's fair. That's a safety car. That's a bit dumb." But like, for example, if we go to the point at Australia with the gravel, because there was so much, they had to bring on, I don't know if anyone saw this, because the people were complaining, saying just get blokes out there with shovel, dustpan and brushes and things.
Yeah, or these stupid
Brushes.
little tractor things.
Yeah, they brought out that road sweeper thing, which clearly they need to do because there was so much. So you had to red flag it. Otherwise, you would spend probably 6 laps behind a safety car. But from my perspective, someone who's been in the job at the FIA for a very long time, or who has been watching Formula One for at least probably 2 years, would understand that if they see the amount of shit that's on the track, they can probably guess how many laps that might take. And if it's, let's say, for example, more than 2 or 3 laps under safety car, that lap, or this should be red flagged. And it takes them a very long time to work that out. So, like, for example, most times when there's an accident, I'll give you Abu Dhabi 2021, a good example. That took them...
Oh, we're really churning through it today.
2 laps to get rid of Latifi's car, 3 laps?
Yeah, under safety car.
Under safety car, which was... Yeah. And then that was the correct procedure. The
red flag it, bag it up.
Oh, they also had
but the thing is, though, that thing was
someone
okay.
really hit it, didn't they, I believe?
But that was okay. Because under a full safety car, you can slow them all down.
Better narrative.
But the problem that they had on that day is they skipped the extra lap the safety car should have done to come in and change the grip and the positions, which everyone forgets. It's not just the should have red flagged it.
Everybody can now actually quote Bert Mylander, who came out and said it very recently, which is one thing.
And he works
I
for the
always
FIA.
say I don't give a shit. But with him saying he had no idea what the fuck was going on, the bloke who's in the safety, it's there for a safe reason. The guy that was in that car was like, what the fuck's happening? Why are cars overtaking me? What's going on? You think it's nutty. But we're not talking about that. But I'm sure some guys in the comments will. We know who you are. We know who you are. Right. Yeah, that's the FIA done with. So we have fixed all the problems as we usually do. So the FIA just need to hire Leo, because he'll just tell everybody to fuck off. And then hire me and Josh to sort the back bit out, basically, because we're so clever, apparently.
If you
You two can do it.
I will red
yeah,
flag
BTS
every
fans,
single lap so we can get a rolling start 56 times.
Yeah, every single lap that a Mercedes isn't in front.
Yeah, red flag it until
Lewis
Lewis
gets overtaken. Red flag.
Yeah, and I'll indefinitely give Max Verstappen
just disqualify
as many track limit penalties as I can when he ever so slightly goes over the white lines, and that's a 25 second, 25 second, 25 second. But he'll probably still win because of the DRS.
Let's keep on doing it. He'd still win, yeah.
Also, can we disqualify?
Mate, he's your go.
Just cause
for no reason. Every time he mentions
all the time, all the time, rent free.
Yeah.
Make a YouTube channel, Alonso will, when he retires. Right. Anyway, everybody, thank you for listening to F1 Talking Points again. A weekly roundup of some stuff that's going on. We'll be doing a couple more of these probably in the week. They'll be released. These will be released this week. Ooh, exciting! And then the other ones will probably be released next week. We're going to be trying to put a lot of content out next week, and the week after that, and the week after that, because for some reason there is a spring break now, basically.
Woo!
So that's a thing.
No, it's because the American fans
winter break
gets them involved. Obviously.
Yeah, spring break, dude.
Yeah.
But
Leo's cringing.
Thank you everyone for listening. As always, as we say, like, subscribe, comment, hit the notification bell to let yourself know when we have posted another video. So we'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.